Hill in the gun with Hill to his right. Play action to the right. Steps up, throws over the middle. He's got Thornton. Caught it! Junior Thornton. Split. 6. Touchdown. Midway.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Hill, right side, finds a seam. Hill, 20. Hill, 10. Hill, touchdown. Midway, no flags. Midway takes the lead by more than one score. And how about the Big Uglies inside?
Now, here's David Smoak.
We're here. It is the final week of the Texas high school football season. It's championship week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thousands of fans from around the state will come watch their favorite team or just because they love Texas high school football at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there will be thousands. We'll have a graphic in a little bit about the attendance records that have been set for state championship games for a single game back before they had everyone play under one roof or in one stadium from back in the day. Now, the games from last week, there are a few that just jump out at you. First of all, Duncanville, a heavy favorite to beat Prosper, but 41-0. The Duncanville's defense has been something that might be overshadowed from people just look at the scores because they beat people up. And by the way, one of the teams they beat, DeSoto, they're in a state championship in Class 6A Division II because of their huge win against Geyer. And Geyer, a favorite, but boy, DeSoto and Claude Mathis's team played well. North Shore ended Austin Westlake's run of state championships 3 in a row and their 49-game winning streak. What a win for North Shore. And then again, North Shore and Westlake, that's like, man, that's just as good as it gets. And Katie's always a part of that conversation, right? How about Drew Sanders and Vadegrift? I saw them play earlier this year when they mauled Midway. Very impressed with them. That was in September. You knew they would only get better, and they did. And a huge win to beat Katie at the buzzer, basically as the clock ran out on a field goal 38-35. It's great to get to the state championship game. It's also great to beat one of the superpowers in the history of the state like Katie in the win against the win for Vadegrift. Aledo and Longview, there was a lightning delay late in the game. Longview seemed to have some momentum, but it's a low-scoring game. Both teams play great defense. Tadarian Boone in that game for Longview, 13 tackles, 5 tackles behind the line of scrimmage that's separate from the 13 tackles. He also had an interception. But the Lobos couldn't beat Aledo, and Aledo, of course, has those 10 state championships. They'll play College Station for yet another one. South Oak Cliff, speaking of defense, beat Argyle. Great run for Argyle in their first year in 5A. South Oak Cliff wins the game 14-6. Port Neches Groves is one of the great stories. How about that? As they roll into the state championship game and beat up Liberty Hill, who played for the state title last year, and Port Neches Groves, a team with history from way back. 3 state championships back in the day, win by 28. China Spring, it wasn't pretty, but they won again to get to their second consecutive state championship appearance as they beat Decatur 33-27. Trey Hafford, who plays all sorts of plays offense, defense, plays wide receiver, jet sweep, he does it all. Had 9 catches for 112 yards and 2 scores in their win. He also recovered the onside kick to seal the game for the Cougars against Decatur. And they'll play the Greyhounds of Bernie, their first ever trip to the state championship. I have to tell this story. It's not a great one. I played Bernie when I was in high school at Randolph High School, Universal City, Randolph. We lost 7-0. It was a deluge of rain all throughout the week, pouring down rain on Friday. We lost the game 7-0. And I always remember that. Bernie, the Greyhounds, playing for the state championship against China Spring. Carthage, it was not easy at all. 42-35. They were down 7, scored midway through the fourth quarter, and then Glen Rose had the ball in Carthage territory just past midfield, fumbled. Carthage recovered. They went all the way down the field, eventually scored, and Scott Surratt will try to win his 9th state championship. He's 8-0 in state championship games. In that game, Jacarian Rockamore, the receiver for Carthage, stepped up, 6 catches, 173 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They'll now play Wimberley. That game, Wimberley beat Cuero on Thursday of last week. Brock and Franklin, 3A Division I. Great matchup there. Brock with a win against Malakoff, who had just beaten Grandview the week before. Franklin rolls again. Their running game was fantastic. Beat Edna 41-13. Gunner and Canadian. Gunner wins the game late, 21-20, and Polk beat Harmony. The run for Harmony is over. What a great year for Jeremy Jenkins and the Eagles with their best run ever. Hawley and Crawford. When I talked to Greg Jacobs last week about Hawley, he said, no, they're really good. This will be tough. 34-20. Hawley won. Refurio with a field goal with no time left beat Timpson 24-21. They'll play Hawley, and then Albany and Mart will meet for the Class 2A Division II state championship. We'll hear from Mart's head coach Kevin Hoffman. We're going to hear from Tyler Beatty at China Spring. We're going to hear from Scott Surratt at Carthage, and we're also going to hear in a moment from Drew Sanders, the head coach at Vadegrift, who opened that program up, and what a great job he has done. Now, there will be thousands that I mentioned at AT&T Stadium. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the crescendo as it builds towards the last game on Saturday night. The single best attendance ever for a Texas high school football championship game back in 1977 at Texas Stadium, Plano, the Wildcats, and Port Neches Grove. So there's a connection to Port Neches Grove. Plano, of course, had the great run with Tom Kimbrough. 49,953 for that single game. There was no game in front of it. There was not like 5 games that day or 3 games. That was one game. That's the record for the single game attendance. Now, there's been other attendance figures a little bit larger than that, but this is when you have multiple teams. In fact, 3 every day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Allen and Pearland. This is back when Kyler Murray was at Allen. At AT&T Stadium, 54,347. And then the following year, in a win against Cypress Ranch, 52,308. But the highest single game was that Plano game against Port Neches Grove. As much as the attention and as much as the coverage and popularity of high school football in Texas has increased, that one game was that 1977, 45 years ago? Still is the single game record in the state of Texas. When we come back, what a job by Vadegrift and Drew Sanders, their head coach. He's a Central Texas, East Texas boy with his roots to Mejia. And he's next as we continue on the High School Football Scoreboard and statewide podcast on 365 Sports and Smoaky.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB Your Bank for Life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
There's a lot of great stories every year when it gets from the first week all the way to what this is the final week of the Texas high school football season. And it's great when you get to see a team early. One that maybe gets better or one you could tell even then that, wow, they're very good. We saw Vadegrift in Midway at UMHB in Belton back in September. Drew Sanders, great friend of mine, and also a hell of a football coach, obviously, as they take on, of course, DeSoto for a state championship. Drew, what's it like this week? Is this like almost like so many different people pulling, even us, and tugging at you? Can you just stay focused on what is at hand?
Yeah, I have had some good friends of mine that have been to state that I started talking to last week of like how I should handle this week. And And so one good idea that Hank talked about and my AD talked about, Coach Horman, they both said you need to get a state game coordinator. And so I've done that. And in fact, I don't know any of the details purposely on the state game. And right now I'm looking at DeSoto film and I'm handling media requests. So that's pretty much my only 2 jobs right now.
Well, let me get one of those jobs out of your way, at least one of those media requests with us. I saw you, and you and I spoke a little bit even before and after the game against Midway. And I mean, I was like, you were almost, in my opinion, you may not agree, but in my opinion, you guys were crisp, you were efficient, you were good. And now here we are like 2.5 months later. Did you know then you might make this deep of a run?
I knew we were going to be good when the season started. You know this, Smoke. Anytime you've got a good quarterback, you have a chance. And Braden Buchanan is a special player for us. And I knew, but I was very worried about my defense. I don't know if I shared that with you, but I replaced 9 starters. And so I was very worried about my defense heading into the year. My wife always tells me I say that every year, but it was nice to see us step up. And after that game, it was a dominant performance. And then the way we started off district playing really well, I began to think, we might have a deep run playoff team again on our hands.
You are the only one who's ever been the head coach at Vadegrift. You took that job and you've built it from start to where you are now. When you took the job, what were the expectations? What were your expectations?
Man, what a great question. And nobody's asked me that in a long time. I think the expectations for me, I was at Travis High School off Old Torf, not Lake Travis for our fans listening, Travis High School in AISD. And I took this job because I wanted a chance to see and test myself and see if I was a really good coach. I felt like I was, to see if I could commit like being on the state level. Could I get a team to compete at the state level? So that's why I took the job. And then from there, my expectations were just to win, I think. You had Cedar Park, Lake Travis, and Westlake all around me. And so the very first meeting, it was hilarious. One random parent, I can't remember who said this, but like, hey, how long is it going to take us to win state? Now, I started laughing in the meeting. But I think that people, one of the things I love about the place I am, and the reason I'm still here is the parents. I can't tell you, I can't get over across to you, I guess that's the right way to say that, of how supportive our parent group is. Like, I've had years, like every coach, my son wants to be this position. I need to get the ball more, but it's been crazy how that's slowly but surely gone away for me. And all it's been is just nothing but positivity. And this year is the best year ever as far as parental support. And so I think that helped me continue to realize that we could build this into something really nice. And then now, this, you just got to have a couple plays to win a state title game. You got to have a couple things go your way. You got to have a little luck. You got to have health, all that stuff. And we've had some of those things.
Well, we're going to get into this week, but what was it like? And Katy is like that 800-pound gorilla. Westlake, you mentioned them. Lake Travis is also there. And then now Duncanville and North Shore. All these teams are 800-pound gorillas. What was it like knowing you had to get through Katy to get to this week?
Well, we went with an approach. Our theme last week was why not us, why not now? That was our theme. I have a theme every week. And I hammer about 3 points into my team's head all week. My college coach, I played for Coach Jimmy Keeling, and he's a Hall of Fame coach and has a statue, my goodness, of him at Hardin-Simmons. He's just a lovely man. I text him every week. He texts me as soon as the game was over. He watches, and he's an amazing person. But he always told me, he'd be like, Drew, you always get what you emphasize. You get whatever you emphasize. You want tackling, you better emphasize tackling. And he'd always say, you can't emphasize everything. So you emphasize a couple of main points each week, and you always get what you emphasize. And I have never felt a more true statement than I learned that from him. And so that's what we emphasized. We talked about that you can win this game, and that was what we talked about all week. You've got to understand there's going to be a storm you've got to weather. And our guys just came out. I'm going to tell you, when I went into the locker room before the game, it was the quietest locker room. You always hear chatter, Yep. You always hear something because they're kids, But I walk in that locker room and there wasn't a word said, and everyone's staring straight ahead. And I said to myself, we're either about to get killed or we're about to play really good. And thank goodness it was the latter. My quarterback Braden, I'm sure we'll talk about him, but sometimes he thinks he's a linebacker, and he looked at me with these eyes that like he wanted to run through some people's faces. And And I was like, man, I wanted to tell him, calm down. Hey, you're a quarterback. You're not a linebacker. But, he leads us well. And our guys went out. We scored the first drive. Smoke. We scored the first drive. And that right there, everybody calmed down. And you could even see it, like coach-wise. I could feel it on the headsets. Like, hey, we're going to be okay. And then the first couple plays, we knocked them back on defense. And we're all on our headsets saying, all right, we can hang with these guys. And then the rest is history.
Well, and it is a great win. The field goal at the end as time expired, the explosion to beat a Hall of Fame, Gary Joseph, and also a school that has a whole bucket load of state championships. All right, be honest with me. Did you think you might play Geyer or DeSoto this week, last week?
Man, people in the Dallas area, I had about an even split because DeSoto is so explosive. Me personally, I'll be honest, I didn't look at who we were playing. I didn't talk to my wife all last week. All I did was work, and all we did was grind. So I don't have an opinion. I did not have an opinion. I knew either one of them were going to be good. But literally, me and my wife passed like two ships passing in the night. Like I am so focused right now. My sons came home from college yesterday. They're both at Mary Hardin Baylor, and my oldest son wanted me to meet them there. And my wife says to him, do you understand this is the most important week of your dad's life? So you're going to come home, kind of starts chewing them out on the phone. It was epic. So coaches' wives, coaches' wives are the best. So they came home to eat dinner with us so I could work the whole time.
And I heard about that. They were at Mary Hardin Baylor, and you've coached them. And I spoke with Scott Surratt, who, as you know, has 8 state titles as a head coach at Carthage. And he told he and I talked Sunday evening. It was late. He said, I got 5 minutes now. And he was still at the office.
Yeah.
Coaches' wives, man, it's not military wives, because we understand there are people out there whose husbands or wives are out there fighting for our country. But the relationship you have, or coaches' wives, what is that fraternity or family-like thing, so to speak?
Yeah, a lot of people, and they can't understand it, but when your entire livelihood is on if this young man passes a class or he shows up to practice or whatever else, you learn to really bond with your family, and they understand like what's riding on a bounce of a ball. And so that's something really special. And I think the best coaches' wives, and my wife's one of them, they understand like what we do as coaches. And this is not just me, by the way. And this is why I think you love what you do, because the coaching fraternity is special, and they're wonderful men.
Absolutely.
And women, excuse me. There's so many great coaches out there, and they understand like most coaches, the spouses understand like we're doing what we feel like we're built to do. I really feel like God put me on this earth to be around young people and encourage them. And so the wives see that as like boosting, pushing their spouse up to help them achieve that. In addition to, they're also helping young people. And so I know my wife totally views it as that. She loves all of our players. She knows all their names. And they care about her too. And all good coaches' wives are like that.
So, okay, you went to Mejia High School, East Texas, Central Texas, kind of a combination there. What's that?
Kind of on the edge of East and Central.
Yeah. It's like right there in the middle. And they won a state championship when you were a freshman in high school. You had told me you were there, but you weren't a part of that team.
Right.
Did that help you get the taste, though, being around that, of winning a state championship?
Yeah, for sure. I've thought ever since I watched as a freshman, I was in the stands with my dad, and I thought to myself, wow, so this is what the state championship looks like. You'd never even dream of the ability to do it. It's like this pie in the sky idea that everybody else gets to do but you. And so for our ability to do that, then in 2001, I coached for Lee Bridges, who was at San Antonio Taft. He was at Killeen. I don't know if you remember him at Killeen.
Absolutely.
But great man. And he's since retired. But we went to state at Taft in 2001, and we lost by 1. But our team was just a normal old team. We had a good tailback named Robert Merrill, but it was a normal old team. And to get all the way to state, we lost by 1 to Mesquite. It just kept it being real. And then one more thing I want to say on this is Chris Ross, who used to be my athletic director, and now he's at Lovejoy. He was my athletic director. And when I got the Vadegrift job, he was not the athletic director and then moved into that role. And one day I was in his office and I was just asking him, because we had coached against each other. And I said, Chris, tell me what I can do better. You played against me. Tell me every scheme weakness I have. Tell me everything. So we had like a 3-hour meeting. He's like, I've always done this against you. It was amazing. But in that meeting, he finished with, I want you to know that Vadegrift can win a state championship. I really, truly believe that about your program. And you're the coach to do that. And it was like a great, I don't know, like a boost or I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it was just like he as a professional saw it in me too. And so it was just, I remembered that conversation. In fact, this is funny, Smoke. I texted Chris Ross today and told him, thank you for saying that, however many years ago, 7 years ago, that he said that. So it's always been a real mine, but crap, it's hard to get to state, man. I mean, I know so many good coaches to get there. So I'm thankful to be playing for it. Hopefully we can win it.
It's amazing because you see schools who are there like Aledo or Carthage or whoever that have been there, North Shore, a bunch of times. And it's like, it seems like now we see these little spurts of dynasties more than ever before. And I'm not sure it's because things have been split into Division I and Division II across the board or not, but it's amazing. It's hard. You're right. I remember when I covered Lee High School, now Legacy, and Tyler, and they used to be at the bottom of the district, Longview, John Tyler, Lufkin, Alt Marshall. And when they made that run and won it, it was it's I don't think you can ever explain it. Plus, my daughter was a senior. Craig had gone to school there as well. It's hard, and sometimes some programs make it look easy. Braden Buchanan, your quarterback, he's a Baylor baseball commit. Very impressive. His ball fakes, his fundamentals, arm strength. He's mobile. How much does he mean to your team?
Man, that's the thing is people don't understand. Like they see he has arm talent. He has arm talent. He can run. And he does fake the ball well. But the things I love the most are the things that people don't see. The look in his eyes before a game, like he makes his team believe we can win just by the way he behaves. And you've been around athletes like that.
Yep.
And you've been around teams like that. And he's one of those guys where when he talks, everybody shuts up and listens. And I truly believe it's guys like him and others that are the reason that we were able to beat an amazing program like that, because we just didn't blink. We truly thought we could win that game, and we did.
All right, last year, your season ended, and it ended emphatically to Westlake, and we know what Todd Dodge and company have done. How much did that game humble everybody, at the same time inspire them throughout the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, that was a humbling loss. I don't like to think about it much. Thanks for bringing it up. Hey, no, all jokes aside, though, that was a moment we weren't ready for. We just came out and didn't play well. And so we talked a lot as a staff about how we could do better and what we missed. And then some of it was just Westlake. I do think that was one of the best high school teams ever assembled. Yep. They dismantled Katy the next week. I think they were up 40-0 at half against Katy. Or 38, something like crazy, right? And so I think that some of it was them really good, and some of it we didn't have a good plan on certain things, like the punt team. I didn't do a good job of preparing my punt team, and so I think we've done a better job of that. We'll see. But it was nice to show up to a moment like the Dripping Springs game, for example, and be able to handle those big moments that we needed, big plays. And then once again, we did the same thing against Katy. So I am pleased to see our responses because of that. I mean, you can learn a lot from losses.
What about your impressions of Austin Novosad? Speaking of Baylor, the quarterback at Dripping Springs, how elite is he?
I mean, I think he's amazing. I'm not a quarterback whisperer. I'm a defensive coach, but I have defended a lot of good quarterbacks, and I will tell you, Baker Mayfield, for example,
right?
King, who I think is a great quarterback. I just don't think he's in the right fit there at A&M. I think Haynes is an amazing quarterback. I've played so many good quarterbacks. I think he has to be one of the best, if not the best I've ever faced. His ability to run around, he's fast. He has a cannon for an arm and makes good decisions. So I think Baylor got a really good one.
I want to give you a quote from Shane Anderson, who I know you're very close with, the Midway coach, and he's a great friend of mine. I asked him, I said, tell me about Drew Sanders. And I had asked him this back when you guys played in September. Very, very smart and articulate, a damn good ball coach. What does that mean to you?
Man, that's awesome. Thank you, Shane, for saying that. I really want to. I've worked really hard. This is my 17th year of being a head coach, and I have worked really hard to stay into the little details of my program. I still coach a position. I still am involved in the play calling on the defensive side and all the game planning on both sides. I didn't ever want to be like a CEO head coach. And I always felt like if I ever got to that point, I'm just going to be an athletic director and make more money, if I decide to do that. I want to inspire kids. I want to challenge kids. I want to, sometimes you got to chew them out and then they're going to build them up. And all that stuff is just like so fun to me. And also it keeps you young. And I think all those things are stuff I love. And so that I appreciate that because I want to be known as like an innovator on the defensive side. And that's why we changed our defense. I have videos released on the 4-2 and now we went to the 3-3, the broken stack 3 years ago.
Right.
And everybody's like, what are you doing? And I think this is what we've got to do to defend people now. And they were just blown away. And now everybody's moving to the defense we moved to 4 years ago now. And I'm really proud of that because I think that we're able to see trends and we're always studying. And I love studying. Like this off season, Smoke, I will be at 5 to 6 different colleges learning, spending weeks with people, just learning from people. And it's just a blast. We want to go to North Dakota State. That's been on our hit list. We want to go there. I want to go to Iowa State and learn. So yeah, I appreciate that, Shane. It's very nice. I think Shane's a very good coach too.
How explosive is DeSoto?
A scale of 1 to 10 and 99, I think. They're all over the place, man. I don't know how I'm going to handle this speed. They have 4 stars at every position. They're coached really well. Claude and I, a lot of people don't know this. You probably do, but a lot of people listening don't know that Claude and I coached against him. We've been friends a long time. Claude is a great dude. He has his team ready to play. They play with his personality, which is aggressive and attacking. And I like it. I hope my team reflects my personality too. And he's going to have good defense always. So we battled. He was at LBJ. I played, and I was at Travis, and I'm 0-2. But he had a great plan. Always had good players, and we did better in our second time. We lost, I think, by 3 or so. The second time, 3 or 4. But they're fast. They're coached well. So.
Hey, man, I know I've taken more time than I asked you for. Good luck this week handling everything. I think it's smart to have a state championship coordinator. So proud of what you've done. Really enjoyed getting to know you even better back in September. And here you are playing for a state championship against a good friend of yours in Claude Matheson DeSoto. Drew, good luck. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thanks, Smoke. See y'all soon. Go Vipers.
Yes, sir. That's Drew Sanders, head coach at Vadegrift. Coming up next, we will hear from Carthage head coach Scott Surratt, Mart's Kevin Hoffman, and also China Springs first-year head coach Tyler Beatty. And this is 365 Sports in the statewide high school football podcast.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation. Smoaky.com presents the Texas High School Football Show on 365 Sports. Brought to you by Peters Chevrolet, Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Thanks to Drew Sanders, head coach at Vadegrift. They played DeSoto and much more on the state championship game matchups as far as games, opponents against each other in a little bit. Thanks to Jacob Wilson, by the way, running the mothership, as I always say, as our producer-director of our weekly podcast. Now, a lot of stats we're about to throw at you, a bunch of them. And Jacob did a great job with these. Here is a list of the teams in 11-man football. The number to the right of them is not their record. It is the record of who they have played this year. For example, South Oak Cliff has played the hardest schedule so far to date. Now, I don't have the percentages, but it's listed 1 through all the way down to 20. The left column, 1 through 10, and then again, 11 through 20. For example, South Oak Cliff has played the hardest based on winning percentage schedule this year. Everybody's played at least a winning record opponents, both at the bottom at 90 and 88, but you see who they have played. There's South Oak Cliff and Refugio down to China Spring, Franklin at 10, and then back up to the right-hand side. We just had Drew Sanders, Vadegrift's record against opponents. Their opponent's record, 103 wins, 69 losses, and all the way down to where Poth is at the bottom. There's Mart next to the last, 92-79 is the record of their opponents. Now, you also see Carthage there, and Carthage this year, their opponents were 93 and 80. And Carthage really not tested at all until finally Gilmer for a little bit. And then, of course, last week, the game with Glen Rose was rather interesting. In fact, they were in trouble late in that game, but they found a way to win, scored the game-tying touchdown, got a fumble near midfield, and took advantage of it to win, to have a chance to play for their ninth state title, 8-0 under head coach Scott Surratt. And I had a chance to visit with Scott Surratt, head football coach at Carthage. And Carthage head football coach Scott Surratt, and yet another trip to the state championship game. And, man, you guys just keep on grinding. I know it wasn't easy. Glen Rose was very good, and it's been a couple of years for you, which is rare. What's it like this week for you?
Well, it's exciting just like always. We had a tough battle against Glen Rose. Now we're battle-tested because we ain't been behind all year. And so we were down by 7 and scored the last 14 points to end the game. And we've actually done that the last 3 fourth quarters against Gilmer and Pleasant Grove and now Glen Rose. So hopefully we can finish games because we hadn't had to finish many. That's a good thing because we've been ahead. But, we're just excited to be back.
What was it like and how excruciating has it been to wait as long as you have for a program like yourself and the program that's had so much success?
Yeah, I mean, we skipped a year and everybody asked me that same question. And I said, well, it's only been a year, but it feels like, 10 when you've been so successful. And, we went out on a bad taste of our mouth last year on a very good team, better team, in China Spring, and so we played better. We think we're a lot better than we were last year, and we just got to play a good football game Friday.
Wimberley obviously has gotten themselves on a run.
Yeah, they're so much better than they were. We played them in 2020 in the semifinals. I believe beat them 39-3, but they are tons better. And I'm not just saying that just because we're playing them this week. There's no question they're tons better. Very talented. They're big. Their running back's big and physical. Their quarterback does a great job running it. And defensively, they've got linebackers that are very physical. Their secondary's good. They're just solid.
Game was winding down, and you're down, and then eventually you do tie the game up. But then it's tied, and they have the ball. What are you thinking as a coach? Is there ever even the thought, my God, we might not win this game, or is it you're worried about the next play, what are you thinking at that time?
Well, and in the moment, you're thinking turnover. I mean, especially as as the offensive guy and calling the play says, hey, let's get a turnover, keep playing, and that's kind of what we preach to our players, our staff. The next play mentality. We can't do anything about the last play, whether it was good or bad, but we can do something about the next one. And we just kept playing. We were fortunate on the play they fumbled, but I think that we fumbled. We had 4 turnovers, and we had 5 by our ones going in, and 14 games. And so we played a bad game. We typically turn it over in that building. And
yeah,
we did it again. And but fortunately we're undefeated in the Star, but it was another barn burner like it always is.
Well, I was at the last one when you had Keontae Ingram, and he just had one of those days. You still won the game. It was an amazing game. Scott, you've won these things 8 times, and now you go for 9. You've been in the state championship. You're 8 for 8. What is the magic other than a great staff, a lot of players that are very good in talent? What is the magic for Carthage football?
Well, we always say that how hard we play and how bought in what we're doing, and to our program, to our daily practice. Our daily goal is to win the day, and we feel like that's pretty much the magic. But we're not worried about what we've done the last 8, and that's what we're going to preach first thing tomorrow to the players. The Glen Rose is over. We're not worried about what we've done in the past, because all those things go away if we go lay an egg Friday. So we want to see what we can do now.
You sound tired. Is there time to be tired? Can you try to explain the grind with 5 days before you play?
Yeah, it is a grind. We're still at the office now, and we still got a little ways to go because they do quite a few things. But it's this time right now is exactly what I told the players the other day. You sleep. I had a buddy of mine always used to say it, Bradley Dale Pivotal. You probably know Bradley Dale. He said, "You sleep when you're dead, Big Daddy." And so that's kind of what we're doing right now. Is we're riding high and on fumes or whatever you want to call it. But it's a lot of energy, and it's fun. This is the funnest time of year.
And I hope you have a great week and another fun week. Appreciate you. Love you, man. Congratulations on getting through a absolute classic in the semifinals, and good luck against Wimberley on Friday.
All right, thanks, Smoky. Love you, bro.
You too, buddy. Man. That's Scott Surratt, head football coach at Carthage. Scott Surratt, former baseball player at Linden Kildare High School in East Texas. I covered him back when they made a run to the state championship back in the day. And then, of course, he was on the staff at Texas High, won a state title when the Coach Norton, Barry Norton, was there at Texas High, and then took the job at Carthage, and the rest is history. Now, some more interesting graphics, I hope, for you. The next stat is points scored per game. These are 11-man football teams. Mart at the very top, and we'll have more on them in a minute. They're averaging 57 points a game. There's Carthage second at 48.3. There's Chita Spring at 944.2. They play Bernie. They average the same amount of points per game scored. Then Hawley on the second column, all the way down. Now, a lot of this also might based on your strength of schedule. And then South Oak Cliff plays great defense. Coach Jason Todd, we had him earlier, 33.3 points per game. And usually for them, if they score 14 to 17 points, that's usually enough. Now, that's offensive for each team. How much do they allow per game? And look who's at the top of that. So Mart averages 57 points a game. They only allow 6.4 points per game. And you can see the teams under single digit: Mart, Gunner, Poth, and Duncanville. And then you go down the list: Carthage, 12.5, Bernie right there. The second column, South Oak Cliff. They allow 14.4 points a game. Now remember, they played Duncanville. They played good people. And that's where they are, down to College Station, who averages giving up 21.6 points per game. So Mart, 57 points a game they score, allow just over 6 points per game. And here they are again. You know, they won the state title back in 2019. They were in the state championship game in 2020 to try to win 4 consecutive state titles. And they lost because of an extra point to Windthorst. Mart kicked the extra point to lead by 7 in overtime. Windthorst scored. They missed the extra point, but Mart was offsides. Windthorst decided to go for the win, and they scored at a pass to beat Mart to end that season and end an opportunity to win 4 consecutive state titles. And then last year, Mart got knocked out early, well, for them. In the semifinals, Kevin Hoffman was going to retire, announced his retirement, and then thought about it. And I remember interviewing him when he announced or told me he was retiring. And, man, you wondered. I think that just you wondered. And they had a tragedy during the summer with some former Mart football players that I think got him pretty good too. And then all of a sudden, he changed his mind. His wife, Jerry, I think she probably also said, hey, you need to get back to coaching. You're driving me crazy. And Kevin Hoffman decided to come back in Mart ISD. They were thrilled. In my conversation with Mart football coach Kevin Hoffman, back again, trying to win another state championship. It seemed like long ago, Kevin, that you said you were done. And I know that you're tired of rehashing that story, but you're back where you were, back where you wanted to be, back where Mart expects to be, the standard of what you have with that program. What is it like to be back in the championship week like so many people expected, including you?
Yeah, we're excited.
the kids and the coaching staff has believed that at the beginning of the season that this was a real possibility. If we stayed healthy and the kids stayed hungry and humble and they've done that. And we've had a great season, and we want it to continue for just one more game.
How do you enter this week, and is it any different than any of the other weeks? And do you feel like, because so much is on the line of what means so much, especially the last time you were there, do you just try to make this normal?
We try to make it as normal as possible, but this is the biggest game of the year, and in the biggest stadium that we could possibly be playing in, and everybody knows what's at stake. But like I told somebody last week, we both, us in Albany, everybody wants to win, and but somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, and we're excited to be here. We're happy to have gotten over, basically the loss last year in the semifinals. If you don't win that semifinal game, I think it's more devastating than anything else, because you're so close. You're so close to getting to the end, and then that's what makes it worse. But we expect to win. We expect to play well. We expect to do what we've done all year, and that's get after it, play hard-nosed, tough Mart Panther football, and come out with a victory.
I hope you don't mind me asking you this question, because had you beaten Windthorst, you wouldn't probably be coaching now, or would you? And is that kind of the same type scenario we're seeing for you this week?
I'm not even, that's not even crossed my mind. I'm all in. I told when I came back I was all in, and I don't plan on going anywhere right now, no matter what happens. You go back to the Windthorst game. I told somebody the other day that we were one play away against Windthorst, and we would have won 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no telling if we had won 4 in a row, maybe things last year would have been different, and maybe the kids would have seen that they could have done something that only one other team in the history of high school football, and that's Lake Travis, has done, and won 5 in a row. I don't know. That could have changed things last year, but I'm all in this thing, and I plan on being here for a while and trying to take this Mart football program and the legacy of this program to, even greater things and continue to play and win at a high level.
Well, the coaching profession needs Kevin Hoffman and others like you, your own unique guy. But, I mean, really, the coaching profession, a lot of coaches getting out of it because of various reasons. So we don't need people like you to leave. And also you hand down the torch or pass the torch to others as they watch you do what you do. Mart is good. Kind of give me a feel of what you have loved about this team.
This team is hungry. This team has put in the work that's necessary to get to this level. That's not always been the case of some of the teams that have gone through this program. I've told this 1,000 times. This group of seniors and juniors and the few sophomores that play key roles for us, none of these kids have state championship rings. The senior class right now, when they were freshmen, was the last time that we won a state championship, and that was 2019. That group, when they were JV kids, we had, about 8 or 9 freshmen and 3 or 4 sophomores, and I only brought up sophomores. I felt like the freshman class that year, they needed to get themselves in the weight room, and they needed to, earn something, and not just y'all come on up and be on the scout team, stay on the sidelines, and get whatever comes to the rest of the team. That group, when they were freshmen, they didn't practice with us, and they didn't travel with us, and they weren't a part of that 2019 state championship team. So that's the main group. They're hungry, And, they want this, as bad as any other team that we've had win it, going back to probably our 2017 state championship team. And this group reminds me a lot of them when we got beat last year. And again, this group took it upon themselves that they were going to get up to the weight room at 6 o'clock in the morning. We were going to have coaches up there and kids up there, and it was open to any of them to come up there and put in the extra work. And our weight room was full starting back in January all the way through the end of that spring semester and through the summer. And then the same thing now. These kids are up there at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, and they're working out before school so they can focus on practice and meetings and the things that they need to do, and that's what put us in this situation.
Albany has a great history, too. In fact, their record against who they've played, one of the teams that beat them earlier this year, they're playing for a state championship in Hawley. And, they've been in 7 state title games. You've been in 13. They've won it a couple of different times. Your thoughts about what you see with them, Albany, on tape?
Very, very physical, very disciplined. Coach Faith, obviously, number 4 all-time wins in Texas high school history. Been there a long time. Their coaching staff been there a long time. They do things the right way. They look very similar to us. They can run the ball with anybody, against anybody, and they can throw it around when they want to. They're pretty balanced at what they do. I think you're going to have 2 similar teams going at each other that have, rich history as far as their programs go. And I think this is the game that kind of everyone thought might happen and wanted to see. So it's here. It's going to happen on Wednesday night. The team that takes care of the football, makes the fewest mistakes, that plays the hardest is the team that's going to win.
Kevin, I'm so thrilled for you, for the program, for the youth, for those kids who are freshmen that you said needed to get in the weight room, and for the city. I know that town, the community of Mart, it's just, there's a lot of places. Everyone's excited right now. There's some teams that have never been here before. Bernie, Vadegrift, among some others. And then you have what you have and what Mart has. And we appreciate you always. You're a great friend of mine and also a great friend of the show. And, of course, high school football. Good luck, and thank you for your time today.
I appreciate it, Smoke. And, good luck to everyone involved in this state championship 4-day fiesta. And everyone safe travels and good luck to everybody, and y'all be safe. Thanks, Smoky, for everything you do, buddy.
Kevin Hoffman, head football coach of Mart on 365 Sports and the Smoaky.com high school football podcast. Thanks to Kevin Hoffman, head coach at Mart. Appreciate his time as they try to win another state championship. Mart overall has 8 state titles. They're trying to win number 9. Now, the 6-man championship, they didn't play last week. Their semifinals were a couple of weeks ago, so they had a chance to kind of decompress a little bit, practice a little bit, get ready. And they start everything Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning, and the second game at 3. Mart, by the way, will play Wednesday night for that 2A Division II state title. So, what are the opponents' records for the 4 6-man or Class 1A state championship teams? Westbrook's opponents, 108-54. Abbott, 99-55. Then Lorraine, and then Benjamin. Benjamin's records against who they've played, not very good, but, man, they're good, and I'll have a stat on them here in just a moment. What are points scored in 6-man? Of course, they put up a lot of points. Benjamin, Westbrook, Abbott, and Lorraine all averaging over 52.9 or better per game. And then on defense, look at this. A lot of points are scored with Class 1A or 6-man football. Benjamin allowing only 7.5, Abbott 9.4. When their head coach, Terry Crawford, sends me stats every week, and he's the best at it, and he sends it by Friday night. He has them, sends them to me, box score stats. Every week it was 48, 45, 40, whatever to nothing, and they rolled Westbrook and then Lorraine at 20.3. Those are the 6-man average points per game, average points allowed per game, and, of course, the opponent's records, too, when we come back. We're going to look at what Jerry Forrest, our great friend, man, he's been fantastic for us, pigskinprep.com, Who's favored? What's the highest ranked game? How many number 1 against number 2 games do we have coming up this week in Texas high school football? The state championship weekend at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, and a couple of other nuggets as well, including the schedule itself. This is 365 Sports. I'm David Smoak, and this is the Statewide High School Football Podcast.
Are y'all ready? What? Y'all ready to play some football? If you want to get it, let me know. I'm about to break this down. If you want to get it, let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. If you want some, come get some.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than...
Let me know. I'm about to break this down. If you want to get it, let me know. I'm about to break. Let me know. I'm about to break this down.
Play Bubba's 33, TFNB, your bank for life, and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
The kickoff times Wednesday through Saturday, and then look at what Jerry Forrest and picks. Who are the picks? Who's the favorites to win? Who in each of the games? Let's start with Wednesday.
It's the final
11
segment.
o'clock.
We're gonna
the
go
first
over the
game
schedule
is
of
Benjamin and
kickoff
Lorraine
times.
Wednesday through
Neither
Saturday.
team has
and
ever
then
played
look
in the
at
state
what Jerry
championship game.
Forrest
So
and
obviously
Pete
neither
Prep
team
have
has
ever
to say
won
as
a
far
state
as who are the
championship.
picks,
Who's the favorites?
Benjamin,
to win,
in every
in
game
each of the
they've
games.
played
but one has done the mercy rule, which is the 45-point rule in high school football. They beat Lorraine 61-30. That's the only game earlier this year that they've played where the game didn't end early because they led by 45 points or more. It's a 6-man rule that will keep a game from getting way out of hand. So there's that one in Class 1A or 6-man football, and we'll have the favorites here in just a little bit. Now, 6-man Class 1A Division I. This is going to be a banger. I know that Greg Tepper at Texas Football Magazine and Dave Campbell's, and he has that word banger. You guys know who watched me. That's something I've been using for a couple of decades. Banger games. Westbrook and Abbott. Abbott, this is their second state type championship appearance, third state championship appearance. Both teams have won a state championship recently. Abbott's been in business. They've been in school since 1931, and Westbrook since 1938. They've been on one really good run. Now, the late game, the nightcap on Wednesday, in a game we feature with Mart head coach Kevin Hoffman against Albany. This is 8 state championship appearance for them. 13 for Mart. Mart's won 8 state titles. Albany's won twice. Mart started playing football back in 1912. Albany back in 1917. And they meet in the nightcap in Class 2A Division II on Wednesday night. Then you start back up again on Thursday morning. It's Refugio and Hawley. What a great run for Hawley after the win against Crawford earlier. Refugio has 5 state championships. Jason Herring, their head football coach, has put up an amazing run. And there we are with that Class 2A Division I game to open up Thursday morning, followed by a Class 3A Division II. Gunner, with that exhilarating 21-20 win against Canadian last week, will take on Poth. Poth has no state title, so this is their opportunity. And Gunner has won a couple of state titles. He started football back in 1925, and Poth began in 1952. Now, let's go to Class 3A Division I. Brock and Franklin on a collision course. Brock started the year 0-4. Franklin, a defending state champion. Bryson Washington is their star running back. Also, Jaden Jackson, another young star running back. Washington is a Baylor commit. These two teams will meet. Both have a state title. Franklin's was last year, and they meet for the 3A Division I state title. Now, to 4A Division II. 8 8-time state champion Carthage, 8-0 in state championship games with Scott Surratt against Wimberley. The Texans have made a really great run. They beat Cuero last week. Wimberley has a couple of state titles again. They're a school that's pretty young. They opened up back in 1988. Carthage has been in business ever since 1924. Division I, Class 4A. China Spring last year won the 4A Division II state title. Brian Bell, now an analyst at Baylor. Brian Bell moved on to college. And Tyler Beatty was on the staff last year, took over. They're in the state championship. And other than Dallas Parish Episcopal, they pretty much cruised. They had a shootout win against Stephenville at home back at the end of district, but they are really good, beating Decatur. They didn't probably play their best. Decatur played well. China Spring and Bernie, the Greyhounds, in their first ever state championship appearance. They have won 15 district titles. They have not had a lot of success. I lost to them my senior year when I was at Universal City Randolph 7-0 in a deluge of rain. Also, now 5A Division II, South Oak Cliff. Remember, they broke that long drought of state championships for the city of Dallas and Dallas ISD. Back at it this year. They played a brutal schedule earlier. Port Neches Grove with a lot of great lineage. Remember that championship game of attendance against Plano back in 1977, the greatest single game attendance record? Port Neches Groves and South Oak Cliff, they'll play for the Division 5A, Division II state title. Followed by, now we move to Saturday morning, Aledo, the state record for 11-man football, 10 state championships, and they started out with a rugged, they were struggling early on, playing good people, though, and then beat Longview last week 17-14. College Station, Steve Huff is now at Decatur, who China Spring just beat. And remember, Stoney Pryor is the head coach. We had him on last week at College Station. They've been in, this is their third state championship appearance. They won it, and now they're back to try to win it again against the greatest championship program ever in Aledo with their 10 and 11-man football. Division II, Class 6A. We featured Vadegrift earlier with head coach Drew Sanders. We had Claude Mathis on from DeSoto. Remember when they had their showdown with Duncanville earlier this year? This is a great matchup. Vadegrift and DeSoto in Class 6A Division II. DeSoto won a state championship with Todd Peterman when Claude Mathis had moved to Marshall. Mathis came back. He's got DeSoto in the state championship game. Vadegrift has only been in existence since 2010. And then, yet again, 6A Division I. They have met before. North Shore, remember the Hail Mary, what was it, like 5 or so years ago? The Hail Mary to win a state championship. Then they beat Duncanville again. These teams, oh man, it's an incredible series. And Duncanville will try to get Reggie Samples, who lost in double overtime in a blocked field goal for a touchdown to Kilgore back in 2004. He's been on the doorstep. He's told us before, listen, it doesn't define me, a state championship, but boy, Reggie Samples trying to get another one. And then, well, you know what? All they do is win. All they do is win at North Shore, and we'll see what happens here. North Shore has won 5 state championships. Duncanville did win one back in the day, and now Reggie Samples tries to get them another one. So that's the schedule. Wednesday, 11 o'clock, all the way through Saturday night at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. China Spring head coach Tyler Beatty with me, 365 Sports and Smoaky.com's high school football podcast. I remember when we spoke early in the year, and you wanted this opportunity, and of course a lot of people would, but some would probably, you wanted this. Here you are, the week of the state championship. What have you learned about yourself as a head coach this first year?
How blessed I truly am. You know, it's hard enough to try to get everything lined up and coordinate players and coaches, but having the right guys in the coaching office that love kids and care so much and are able to scheme and put our team in a good position, and then the kids being resilient and responding in every aspect of the game. So very, very blessed to be around a group of guys that do such a great job day in and day out.
You also learned the week of the state championship because of last year and the run that the team made last year. Do you take from that experience? Do you also lean on some other coaches that have been in this position before for this week?
100%, yeah. I mean, obviously just kind of looking at logistics of what Friday looks like. And making sure that we're at the right place in the right time. It's been a lot, but I think having been there and having understanding of what it looks like, what it feels like, is going to help us out. We're going to get there early and watch the first half of the Carthage-Wimberley game to let our kids absorb it in a little bit and then get after it.
Tyler, your team has been rolling. There's the game with Parish Episcopal, and, of course, they ended up being elite, but you guys have really been kind of dictating the tempo. I know Stephenville got dicey and a couple other games. The focus of these young men, not only just the coaching staff, but the focus of this team to go back and do this again. This isn't easy. These things aren't supposed to be easy.
That's the best part about goals and setting your sights on something that's so far away and obviously having to grind it out every week. And as you get closer to that goal, which we're there, of being in AT&T, our kids have been able to be locked in. I lean a lot on our captains and our 35 seniors in this locker room that know what it's like. They know how to respond. They don't get rattled when things go awry. And they've done a really good job of honing in and grasping these younger guys and kind of putting them under their wing and showing them what it's supposed to feel like and showing us as coaches that when they take the field, they're going to do everything they can in their power to come out victorious.
Bernie, the Greyhounds, I sent a text to you early in the weekend. I was at Universal City Randolph. We lost to Bernie my senior year in the pouring down deluge of where you could basically not even get a snap off. It was 7-0. It was awful. They're on a tremendous streak, and I think everyone kind of knew who they were, but then when they hammered Cal Allen, it kind of jumped out for those who didn't. What do you see?
Very, very confident football players. They are physical at the point of attack, and they do a really good job of protecting their quarterback. And so some keys to victory for us are going to push some pressure on him, whether that means sacks or as he's getting rid of the football, contact, but trying to speed up his processing speed to give our defense a chance to get some takeaways and not allow them just to run open down the field. They've got a really good run game, and so we're going to have to tackle the football with tremendous effort.
When Trey Hafford recovered that onside kick, he had a nice game statistically, as he always does. He can do all of it. But when he recovered that onside kick, was there a sense of relief?
100%. We lined up incorrectly on the first one. I was able to get a timeout called right before that second onside. And so thankfully he was over there, and that was for sure kind of see how the game had changed. And Decatur was giving it their all, which we knew they were going to. And for us to end with the ball in our possession, very, 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 very awesome.
It's not always easy when you bring in new people, and Cash McCollum comes in from Wimberley, and they're playing right before you and has helped you and played really, really well up for Mr. Texas football at the quarterback position. How much of a transition was that?
We ended the season, we had a set of twins that went to Chilton, and one of those kids was going to be our quarterback. And so we were kind of in a spot of, well, who do we have? And we looked at our roster, and Jackson Battles took all of our spring snaps, did all of our 7-on-7. And in June, Cash moved in along with his dad, coached offensive line for us. We talked to Jackson and said, do not give this thing up. You battle your tail off like we knew he would, and he did. And there came a point about that second week in fall camp that Cash really emerged. He has dove headfirst into our scheme, into being coachable, understanding our terminology. Film study is incredible. And then just kind of how as he has grown as a player over the course of the season and not replicating same poor decision-making and values the football and just kind of his grit to play, whether he's 100% or if he's slightly injured. He has become a true team player for this team.
Aren't the stories like Jackson Battles really the stories behind almost every team playing this week?
100%. That I referred to him as our Swiss Army knife. He does everything for us, and granted, he doesn't have the touches and the carries and the stats that a Tristan or a Hafford do, but he comes in and operates so efficiently on as a quarterback or a receiver or a nickelback on defense, and he just brings it all because he wants to win so bad. He's willing to sacrifice playing time or receptions for success of the team. So those are the kind of guys that really make China Spring specials. We got a lot of guys like that.
Tyler, go win it. Thanks for your time. I know you're busy as heck. Glad we could get this from you, and good luck on Friday against Bernie. Tyler Beatty, head football coach at China Spring on 365 Sports. Now, what does Jerry Forest and Pigskin Prep think about the games. Here you have these are the picks. The red number is the total number between 1 and 2. So you see 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 12 state championship games are the number 1 seed against the number 2 seed based on the index to pigskinprep.com. The games, I'll give you this. You don't have it listed here, but I'll give them to you. North Shore Duncanville's a pick'em game. South Oak Cliff Port Neches Grove pick'em game. Bernie is actually favored by 5, according to Jerry Forrest, over China Spring. Carthage a 10-point pick against Wimberley. Franklin's a 1-point favorite against Brock. Refugio and Holly, pick'em game. Mart, touchdown favorite to win their game with Albany. Benjamin, who beat Lorraine earlier, remember, 61-30, a 9-point pick to take on Wimberley. Gunner is a 2-touchdown favorite. We thought that the Gunner Canadian winner would be the favorite. Gunner's a 14-point pick against Poth, making their first ever state championship appearance. Westbrook and Abbott, this is going to be a sledgehammer game. Westbrook favored by 5. Aledo, 11-point pick against the Cougars of College Station. And then there's DeSoto, a slight, like a 6-point pick, a touchdown pick to take on and beat Vadegrift, according to pigskinprep.com. Now, we're about to run this out for the year, and Jacob Wilson's been amazing. Our sponsors, of course, Peters Chevrolet, my great friend Randy Peters, peterscars.com, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, thanks to Carl Ellis and Mike Garrett, TFNB, your bank for life, and we appreciate Jason Lavender, Nathan Watkins and Philip Don at Bubba's 33. We appreciate who they have been as well, and Captain Kai Kizzy and the great people at the U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company. How about that Army-Navy game this past week that went overtime with Army winning on a field goal? Of the teams playing for a state championship, we had North Shore, we had South Oak Cliff, Carthage, Franklin, Mart, DeSoto, Duncanville, China Spring, College Station, and Vadegrift. So we've had about half of the schools that are playing for a state championship this week, and we appreciate the times of every coach. Thanks to Carthage head coach Scott Surratt. Thanks to Kevin Hoffman of Mart. Thanks as well to Tyler Beatty of China Spring for his time and their time this week, and Drew Sanders, the head coach at Vadegrift. I love high school football in Texas. This is, I think, my 42nd year since November of 1981, when I remember shooting a game between Lufkin and Nacogdoches at Abe Martin Stadium. Smoaky.com, the website we opened up in 2002, a place for you to go to with historical perspective and forums and message boards and a lot more. I love that site. Craig Smoak helps me run that along with Derek Tonkin as well. For Jacob Wilson, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for another incredible year of Texas high school football. This is the Statewide High School Football Podcast State Championship Week on 365 Sports and Smoaky.com. Battle in the gun with Hill to his right. Play action to the right. Steps up, throws over the middle. He's got Thornton. Caught it! Junior year. Since November of 1981, when I remember shooting a game between Lufkin and Nacogdoches at Abe Martin Stadium. Smoaky.com, the website we opened up in 2002, a place for you to go to with historical perspective and forums and message boards and a lot more. I love that site. Craig Smoak helps me run that along with Derek Tonkin as well. For Jacob Wilson, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for another incredible year of Texas high school football. This is the Statewide High School Football Podcast State Championship Week on 365 Sports and Smoaky.com. Year. Since November of 1981, when I remember shooting a game between Lufkin and Nacogdoches at Abe Martin Stadium. Smoaky.com, the website we opened up in 2002, a place for you to go to with historical perspective and forums and message boards and a lot.